Well, hello there. This is Jennie from Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have an art journal page for you, so get comfy and let's get crafty. I will be working from the Mission Inspiration March 2022 prompt, Mother Nature's Bounty, Verdant Plants, Trees, Fruits and Flowers, Butterflies, and Cute and Cuddly Creatures, with a color combination suggestion of moss, aqua, and light blue. And I literally took the Mother Nature prompt. I kind of ran with the whole Mother Nature thing. I will be working on this piece of mixed media paper that is approximately 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And I will start by adding a layer of Tim Holtz tissue paper. This is the one with the butterflies and the music notes and the text on the background. I've already ripped off a piece because I didn't want to waste it and cut it too big and, all the stuff. I do want to add this with matte gel medium and a 2-inch chip brush. I learned after watching Be a Grob that the fastest way to get a nice solid coat of gel medium down on your substrate was to use a thicker brush. I was using a little tiny 1/2-inch brush, 1-inch brush. And it was like, oh, angels from heaven talking to me when I saw her use that bigger brush. I don't know why. It had never occurred to me before, but it totally had not occurred to me before. Like I said, I want to have a nice solid coat. I don't want it to be so thick that it squishes out. But I do want it to be thick enough that it doesn't dry at the top before I get the bottom coated and the tissue paper adhered down. When I adhere this tissue paper, I do want to keep that butterfly down toward the bottom half of the page. It's probably, somewhere around 1/3 from the bottom, maybe slightly more toward half. I do want to kind of align my focal image with that at the end, or when I get the focal image on. Just to be kind of part of that. I want it to become part of the focal image, I guess is what I'm saying. Once I have that aligned, I will go ahead and add a layer of gel medium. I did have a little bit of a tear in the corner of the edge there on the left-hand side, but no big deal. You will not ever even notice it. Like I look at it right now, don't even see it. It's not even there. So it's perfect. Once I have that cleaned up and dried off with my heat tool, I will go ahead and trim the excess tissue paper off. And I am using my big, long Tim Holtz scissors, and the more I use them, the more I am super glad I picked them up when I saw them on sale. My next step is to add a little bit more texture, and I will be using this Catherine Pooler stencil, and I will link that stencil down below, with some Crafter's Workshop light and fluffy modeling paste and this rubber spatula that I picked up quite a while ago, actually, and I thought maybe the lighter, fluffier paste would be easier to use with this less stiff spatula. And it worked really well, actually. It's a little bit of a growth curve for me because I'm used to holding the palette knife another way, but it worked. My thought process with the texture paste is to add it in kind of a oval type border across the top and the bottom, just to kind of create a frame, I guess. The cool thing with this spatula is that cleanup is super easy. So you just rub it along and pick it right up and it scrapes right off back into the tub of texture paste. I did want to make sure I cleaned up the edges of the page as well as the rubber spatula. Okay, now that I've got my desktop all cleaned up and the texture paste is dry, I'm going to add some color to my background. I'm using these iridescent paints that have a little bit of gold mica in them. I purchased them on Amazon. I think the brand name is Jacquard. I will try and find them and link them down below as well. And I am adding them with a dry brush to begin with. The reason I am going to start with a dry brush is because I can really push that paint down into the nooks and crannies of the texture paste or the modeling paste, and it really pulls that texture forward. Like if you look at the page before the paint and now as I'm putting the paint on, that texture paste is much more visible. And I'm just adding a little bit at a time. Sorry, that wasn't proper English. I'm adding a little at a time to kind of encourage that texture to pop forward. Once I have this, there's 3 colors here, light, medium, and dark, and I'm putting the light on the bottom, the light on the top, the darker on the bottom, and then if I need to, I will blend them in the middle. I did add just a little bit of paint to kind of thin them out. I do want this paint to be more translucent, excuse me. I want the text in the background and the images in the background from the tissue paper to still kind of pop and add another layer of texture. Now that I have the top covered in that lightest color, I am going to add the darker color to the bottom. And like I said, these are shades from light blue to aqua to kind of a jade colored green. It has a lot of gold mica in it. It's really, really pretty. I am adding that with a mostly dry brush. It's not as dry as it was to begin with, since I did add water to the top half, but the paintbrush is definitely not soaking wet. I'm just going to add a little bit of this paint onto my craft mat at a time so that I don't waste any. I don't want to have to clean it up with a wipe and throw it away. But in my frugality, I did get a little chintzy there and had to add a little bit more. I am adding some water to spread that out, to thin it out, and also to help those two colors blend. And they blended beautifully. I did not need to add that middle tone, the mid color there in the middle. They blended together very nicely. Okay, so my paint is dry, my texture paste is dry, and this is my focal image, and I'm going to pop on screen here with a picture of this is a screenshot of the paper I was creating, or the images I was creating on my desktop. I actually use Microsoft Publisher and found the images online and used that, sized them in Publisher. I like to use Publisher because you can stack pictures on top of each other and send them to the front and back, and it doesn't change their layout and stuff as much. And it's just easy. It's just easy to use. It's probably not the most technical, but it's just easy to use. And once I had them all fussy cut out, which I did that off camera before I started filming, I will go ahead and ink up the edges. I did speed that up like supersonic speed. And my plan is to layer them with Mother Nature kind of in the center of that butterfly. I was a little bit nervous about all of the elements fitting. So she is slightly off center, and it looks a little bit less like the butterfly as part of her costume and more like the butterfly is behind her, but it's okay. That collage of animals, it was super funny. When I saw the prompt, I immediately thought of Mother Nature, and I thought it would be cool if I could find her holding up some flowers and such and a group of animals. So I literally Googled animal collage, and this group of animals came up. And it's got sharks and pufferfish and alligators and lions and elephants and birds and kangaroos and all kinds of stuff. And it was exactly what I needed. It was kind of funny. The Mother Nature image is actually an ad for a vintage Mother Nature costume from an online costume shop. I literally just searched Mother Nature. And this is what I found. There's some really fantastic artwork. Oh my goodness. I did get kind of sucked down a hole when I was looking for pictures of Mother Nature because there are some really fabulous pieces of art that people have created with Mother Nature as the theme. Anyway, I digress. I did finally get Mother Nature to stick down to the page. Trying to make sure that there are as few wrinkles as possible. Her hand in that ivy bouquet did give me a bit of a, shenanigans. We'll just call it shenanigans. It did give me just a little bit of trouble. I finally put the brush away and just went to using my most favorite tool, my most often used tool, my fingers, to lay that arm and that bouquet down flat and smooth the gel medium down so that I could get her arm to lay down without any wrinkles or weird angles. I didn't want it to look like her arm was bending backwards. Although given that I'm placing an elephant in her hand, it would have been a little bit humorous, right? Okay, now that I have Mother Nature down and her bouquet of ivy, my next thought process was to add a bouquet of flowers to her hand. And when I was originally planning this page, I picked blue flowers because blue is one of the colors. I did not plan on the colors in the background being so close to the same color. So probably I should have picked something like white and just or yellow and just let it stand up off the page a bit. That's one thing I have a hard time remembering to do is keeping that background a contrast color to the focal image. All right, so I got my little animal collage on there, and as I was putting it on there, I thought, oh, this is kind of small, and I have more room on my page. And when I was stacking the photographs on top of each other in my publisher program, it it felt like it was the right size, but then I realized I'm being ridiculous because she's literally holding an elephant in her hand. We're not going for realism here. We're going for how it looks. So I went back into my page and resized that group of animals and added them slightly larger back to my page. And I do like how that looks a little bit more. It seems to kind of fit the page just a little bit better visually. You can see all of the animals. You can see the different pieces and parts that are all there. Yeah, so that was kind of funny. I did edit all that out. You didn't want to watch me cutting that or resizing that or anything either because it took a hot minute. But I did fit it so that it would go right to the top of that page. So it works, but it kind of barely works. But that's okay. We're not going, like I said, this is not realism. This is imagination. This is impressionism, whatever you want to call it. I did like the idea of Mother Earth holding the flowers and the animals in her hand. That was just kind of the thought that came to me when I saw the prompt for this month. All right, so now that I have successfully reattached my animals and dried off the gel medium, I am going to add some shading. And I went back and forth with which pen I wanted to use. I did try a few different ones out. Ultimately, I used this blue pen. I tried the brown, and the brown was just a little too heavy. It smeared too far out and casted too dark of a shadow. So I tried a gray, and the gray was just completely non-visible because of the background color. So I did go around the Mother Nature and the flowers and the animals with the blue pen. And then I went back with the brown in some of the places that the blue seemed kind of weird, like around her skin. And then I added the blue India ink pens to the wings of this butterfly to kind of pull them out of the back and into the foreground to make them more part of the focal image. And I used a little bit of water to spread that around with my fingertip. The next thing I wanted to do is use these Tim Holtz small talk stickers. And the quote I picked is, "It is always the small pieces that make the big picture." And I felt like that was kind of perfect for this page. So I hope you enjoyed the page. Here's a couple of close-ups of the collage items or the collage pieces that I put together. If you like the page, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. If you didn't like the page, tell me why you didn't like the page. I'm all about the constructive criticism. I hope you have a really fabulous, fabulous day. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel and watching my video. I have linked a couple other videos here for you to watch, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not done so already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. And if you know somebody who would like it, please feel free to share. Have a great day.